Hello guys and welcome. Today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite monk builds, the open palm build. You should be prioritizing your dexterity and wisdom from your stats, and additionally you want to be getting enough points in your constitution. As you're a melee class, you're going to be in the face of danger at all times, so some extra HP is always good. I would put the 2 extra points to strength, but you can distribute them however you want. So race options, which races are the best for you? I would recommend all the dark vision races. Most of all, you always need dark vision, but my favorite ones are elf, as it gives you proficiency with longbows, short bows, and long swords, and you're only going to be getting short sword proficiencies as a monk, so some good weapons to use, more options, and it also gives you stealth proficiency and Mask of the Wild when you pick Wood Elf sub race. Alternatively, you could go for a drow. You get the rapier proficiency, the hand crossbow proficiency, and your dark vision. So a wood half race, it gives you a lot more movement speed, which really adds well with your monk abilities, and you get the spear proficiency, which is really important as a monk, as it's a versatile weapon and it's dexterity focused. You get stealth proficiency and increased movement speed, as we said earlier. If you find yourself thinking about that you might not be tanky enough, a gold dwarf is always a good option to get that a little bit more maximum HP and dark vision, and also advantage against getting poisoned. Then finally, gnomes. I love gnomes at this point, even though I don't really like role-playing as short races. Deep gnomes in this case would be an amazing pick. Yes, they're a bit slow, but you can make up for it with your class abilities. Then you get Gnome Cunning and Dark Vision, which is the strongest ability from all the races at the moment, especially with a Tasha's build. And then you go for a Deep Gnome, where you get superior dark Vision, and you get advantage on stealth checks, which is OP. So this character is going to be ability score starved. So what does this mean? Essentially, you want to be maxing both your dexterity and wisdom, so you might not have the opportunity to take as many feats. So sparing anti-ethel and getting the hair to boost your ability score by 1 might be a really good or wise decision, one could say, as it would allow you to essentially pick the feats that you want in the future. So some good feats are Sentinel, Defensive Duelist, Dual Wielder,
Don't hit the camera, man.
Dual wield! Here!
Mobile, tough, and skill experts. So, Sentinel. Sentinel is good as it allows you to get an additional attack of return and reduce your enemy's movement speed to 0. Defensive Duelist it's a good way to boost your armor class, since your armor class is not going to be very high until you max your statistics.
He is well protected. It's impossible. You'll never make it. Never make it. Ever make it. Never make it. Never make it. You'll never make it. Ever. Don't you see you can make it?
Dual Wielder is a way to amplify your damage a little bit. Mobile synergizes very well with your beats build and the number of attacks you can do every turn. Tough is a feat you should be looking for if you're getting pummeled into the ground every turn, especially if you don't have another melee member in your party to share the damage with, and then you just take all the damage. You might want to consider tough. Skill expert is a little bit of a situational feat. I would consider picking it under the circumstance where you want to fill a role in the party where your party is lacking. So before I get into the build, I just want to say a quick thank you and a shout out to all the people commenting and subscribing and engaging with the content. It's been really fun the past few days getting to engage with you guys, and I'm really excited about Baldur's Gate 3, so it's always fun to have company whenever you nerd out on these sort of builds. So thank you. So let's get to it. Character level. At level 1, you want to be picking Monk of the Open Palm. So you get an armored defense, which allows you to add your wisdom and dexterity modifier to plus 10 to to find your armor class. As you can tell, as you scale with wisdom and dexterity, you're going to be much harder to hit. Then you get martial arts, which is essentially it allows you to use dexterity instead of strength whenever you make an attack and damage roll with unarmed strikes or mag weapons. You can also roll die whenever you do those attacks, and they increase in damage as you level up. And additionally, whenever you take the attack action with an unarmed strike or a monk weapon, you can make one unarmed strike as a bonus action for free every turn. Then at second level, you're going to be getting your access to your key abilities and your unarmored movement. So key abilities, essentially the DC, the key save DC, so it's difficulty check, is 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your wisdom modifier. Again, wisdom is very important for this build if you want to force saving throws onto your enemies. So, Flurry of Blows. This is the most important ability you're going to be using all the time, and we're going to base our build around this. So, immediately after you take the attack action on your turn, you can spend 1 key point to make 2 unarmed strikes as a bonus action. Essentially, this gives you, instead of 1 extra attack, 2 extra attacks as a bonus action. Then Patient Defense is you just spend 1 key point to take the dodge action. I'm not certain whether Larian will implement this, as they are not a fan of the dodge action, so don't worry about this one too much. However, you can just spend 1 key point to disengage or dash as a bonus action. Then an armored movement just increases your walking speed per round every turn whenever you're not wearing armor or a shield. This essentially gives you the movement speed required to reach the back line of the enemy that you want to be getting your hands on. That's level 2. Level 3, you're going to be getting your open hand technique ability from your subclass. It essentially allows you to either force a dexterity saving throw for free whenever you hit an enemy to knock them prone, to force a strength saving throw to push them away or off cliffs. And either they cannot take reactions, but this only works whenever you use one of the attacks from Flurry of Blows. So the prerequisite is that you've already hit something this turn, or tried to make an attack this turn with your action. And then we go to level 4. Level 4, you're going to be getting an ability score increase. I would max out my dexterity at this point, if it's not already maxed. Slow fall is not that important, but it's essentially an equivalent of Feather Fort. Whenever you're falling, you take less damage. And if you don't fall enough of a distance, you don't take any damage at all. Then on level 5, you get your extra attack and your Stunning Strike. So Stunning Strike is an ability that allows you to use your key saving throw DC to force an enemy to do a wisdom saving throw, which if they fail, they are stunned until the end of your next turn. This ability uses 1 key point, and you do get 1 key point every time you level up. However, Larian did mention that they're going to be giving more key points to the monks, so we'll see how that goes down the line. Then on level 6 and 7, you want to be going Druid of the Spores. Hail of Spores is an ability that you're going to be getting at level 2. It allows you to use your reaction to deal 1d4 necrotic damage to any creature that starts its turn near you. Again, it takes your reaction and it's not a lot of damage, but it gets doubled, so it's 2d4. It averages around 5 damage as your reaction. Not great. I'd very much rather use Sentinel. So, Symbiotic Entity. This is the bread and butter of why you want to go into this Druid build. You're essentially going to be using an action to do this, but as we know with Wild Shape, it doesn't really run out, so you're going to have 8 temporary HP at level 2, and as a monk, you're going to be going, well, pretty high in the initiative order most of the times. And essentially this ability gives you an extra 1d6 necrotic damage to any target you hit with your melee weapon attacks. This is very strong, and this is gonna boost our damage a lot, especially with the amount of attacks that we're gonna be doing down the line. So after we get the 2 levels in Druid, of course we're gonna get some spells. Okay, so important to note that whenever we get level 3 Druid, we want to be getting a whole person spell. We'll get back to that later. Level 8, you want to be getting 3 levels in Rogue. You're going to be getting Expertise, Sneak Attack. Sneak Attack works with finesse weapons, and your attacks count as finesse weapons, your arms and your kicks. Additionally, you get Cunning Action, therefore Step of the Wind is now useless, and you get Fast Hands, which gives you a second bonus action every turn. Then on level 11, you want to get your 3rd level in Druid and get the person spell. And then additionally on level 12, you can get either 1 level of Cleric to get proficiency in Heavy Armor and Destructive Wrath, or you want to get a 4th level in Druid to get your ASI up and your Druid Spore's temporary HP up, which is important because if you run out of temporary HP, you're going to have to cast the Druid Spore's ability again. Or you could just get a level in Range or Knight to get some Heavy Armor proficiencies and some resistance from the Natural Explorer feat. So this is the build. Now let's go on how we're going to actually be using this build. I would recommend the Druid, by the way, on level 4, on level 12. Getting that additional ASI and getting the alert feat so that you can go first is quite important. I might even consider giving up the first dexterity boost to do that. I would consider doing that. Because going first, once you have the Druid Spore's ability means that you're going to be dealing a lot of damage in that turn. So, turn 1, how are we going to be playing this build? So on turn 1, okay, so this is just some calculations that I did about the damage. The average damage for each attack. So I've narrowed it down to the average damage if you attack somebody and you don't crit is 13, or if you do an average attack and with sneak damage it's 23.5, and if it's an unarmed strike it's 22.5, and then if you crit, the average sneak damage is going to be 42, the weapon damage 21, the unarmed strike 19, and if you do an armed strike with sneak critical, it's going to be 40 damage total. You're going to be critting approximately 10% of the time whenever your enemy is paralyzed or stunned, so that's something to note. And if they're not stunned, then it's 5% of the time. Of course, that's the average number. And okay, so on turn 1, your spores are already going to be activated. Then you use one of your bonus actions to drink a haste potion. Then you use an action to cast Hold Person onto the enemy that you want to destroy. And
You go that way. I'll go home.
you're going to use your second action to do extra attack. The first attack the attacks that are going to be in melee are always going to auto crit whenever your enemy is paralyzed.
Joy the Paralyzer!
And therefore it's going to give you advantage, which would proc your sneak attack, which should do 42 damage. Then you're going to do a second attack, which is going to be a weapon attack, and when that crits, it deals 21 damage. Then you're going to be getting your second bonus action from your Thief Fast Hands, which is going to do 19 damage times 2, so that's 38, bringing your total average damage in this turn to 101. Now, if you use your reaction to do an additional Sentinel attack, that could also give you an additional 13 damage, which totals the damage for turn 1 to 114. But let's wait and see what happens in turn 2. So in turn 2, your enemy is already paralyzed from your Hold Person. If they're not, then you can always try to cast Hold Person again at the start of your turn.
Another paralyzer.
That's gonna effectively reduce the damage by 21 on your first attack, on your first turn. Actually 21 times 2, so that's by 42. So your first attack is gonna, so let's take the best case scenario here and say that your enemy is still held. You're gonna be doing 42 damage from the first sneak attack with your weapon, then 3 attacks times 21 with your weapon, that's gonna be a spear, that's another 63 damage, and then 4 unarmed strikes with your bonus action, twice flurry of blows, which adds up to 32 plus 30 times 2, which 38 times 2 just ups to 76. Then your reaction damage from Sentinel would do 194 damage. And this is if you are not holding a magical weapon, which is very unlikely. And any type of magical weapon that deals additional fire damage, let's say 1d4 fire damage or 1d6 fire damage, or any type of damage, if you're going to be doing 8 attacks, it essentially is going to double your damage a lot. So you could outsource the Hold Person to your cleric and just focus on just doing the damage yourself. However, I wouldn't consider it fair if we don't take that into account on turn 1 as setting up. Again, setting up things in D&D doesn't always work out. However, you could just try Hold Person again on this turn and just give up on 42 damage, and then just have an average turn damage of 150. Again, assuming that you do not lose your temporary HP. Yeah, this is pretty much the build. Please keep in mind, if you have a magical weapon, you're going to be doing a lot more damage, especially if you have a weapon that does 1d6 fire damage on every attack. Then when you do 8 attacks every turn, you're going to be doing 8d6 more, so that averages out to 8 plus 36. 86 no, is 48. 8 plus 48, that's 56 over 2. Another 28 damage just by getting a weapon that just deals another 1d6. Then if it's plus 1 as well, then the average damage goes even higher. So yeah, this is pretty much the build. Please let me know what you think. Also prepare the Shadow Monk build that I'm gonna be releasing sometime tomorrow. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate you guys for sticking around and commenting and engaging with the content, and let me know what you think about this build. Yeah, please consider subscribing, and thank you for being here, and thank you for watching. Have a great day. Bye.